Hey everybody, I'm Mike Levy. I'm here at Santa Cruz's headquarters, and this is their first e-bike. It's their Heckler. It's a 150mm travel do all the things bike. And this is Rob Roskopp, one of 3 founders of Santa Cruz, and Aaron Foley, lead engineer on the Heckler. We got to get something out of the way right off the bat here. So there are definitely some people out there who contend that as soon as you put a motor on a mountain bike, it's no longer a mountain bike. Rob, I think I know what you're going to say, but is this a mountain bike?
Sure rides like one. We watched, the whole e-bike thing take, I think it was probably 12 or whatever. I was in Italy and I rode a high bike, but they had a throttle on there, so it was a little different. But I'm like, okay, I can kind of see it. But bikes were 60 pounds at least, and just didn't really feel like a bike. It felt like something else. And I think our goal on this was just to make a bike that felt like a mountain bike. Yeah, you get the assist, but the main thing is the performance of it, and we're a performance bike company. That's what we do. We don't just stick a motor on it and let it be, that's our e-bike. No, there's been some serious time put in by our whole team here, and yeah, it's a performance bike.
How long has this thing been in development?
What, 3 years?
Yeah, before I started. Yeah. And that was, a lot of research and then a lot of development time. Yeah. It was like 2 years once we kind of knew what we were doing.
What was it in 2017 that allowed you guys to say, hey, now is the time, let's look into this, and not earlier than that?
At that point, it was going crazy in Europe. It was like the same thing that happened with 29ers. We started getting people asking, when are you guys going to do an e-bike? And so we started looking into it seriously.
Back in 2017, when this was taken off, were you already convinced about e-bikes? Were you an e-bike fan back then already? Or was it more, hey, let's look at this, maybe Santa Cruz should build one of these?
I don't say I was a fan. I was actually at that time more concerned just about access and how uptight everybody was in this country regarding that. At that same time, yeah, it was something that gets me out on the bike probably a bit more, to be honest. Yeah. And yeah, I took it from there.
So you guys were bought by Pawn Holdings back in 2015, another one of their brands, Focus high-end e-bikes. They're no longer in North America. Was Pawn a factor at all in your guys' decision to do an e-bike in 2020?
When we first sold, they asked if we were going to do one. At that time, no, we said no, and we told them we'll do it or address it when we feel the need to or the desire from within to do it. That's how we've always acted on any of the models we've come out with. It's bikes that we personally want to ride.
Okay. So a lot of riders would say that Santa Cruz is a company that leads rather than follows, but on the other hand, we've seen a lot of your competitors debut e-bikes, 4 or 5 years ago, and the market's obviously taken off, we've been told. Would you say that you're late to the party for the e-bike?
No, I think it's not necessarily the best thing to be first all the time. I think we lead in a number of ways, but I think we're coming at the right time.
You've let these other companies do their e-bikes and you've watched. What have you learned by waiting on the sidelines in that time?
We, got some bikes, saw what we liked and what we didn't like, and then we, developed it in the way we develop all of our bikes. And I think we've come out with something that, from what I've ridden from our competitors, that it's the next level.
Yeah. Was there any thought on your part, instead of going full-size e-bike, doing a lighter version, lighter weight battery, less power? That's
more recent, I'd say. You always want to hit the weight. As far as weight for what the travel is and what the bike's made for, we're right there with the lightest on the market. Where other brands tend to skimp, on an e-bike you can't skimp on tires. And a lot of the other companies are. They're putting thinner casings. If you want to ride it hard, you're not going to roll your tire off the rim. We're
going to talk about some tech. This thing's on 27.5-inch wheels, and I'm not going to lie, I'm sort of surprised that it's on 27.5-inch wheels. What was the thinking there? What didn't you like about the 29er prototypes that you tried?
So I think the big thing was making this bike ultra playful. We wanted it to be like nimble like a Bronson and just super fun to ride and be able to throw it around some. And, you know, one of the things where we run into maybe some hurdles with that is in the rear center chainstay length for 29er. you know, hitting like a sweet spot. The chainstay length's 445 on here, which is a super good balance of quick handling as well as stability when you get to those technical climbs, which all of a sudden are like super fun. I mean, going up is a blast, you know, as well as descending. So that's some of it. You know, this is based loosely on a Bronson. It's still a bike that people love to ride and throw around. And so it was really just about making it fun. You know, it's the first one. It's the first e-bike that we've done, and we wanted to, you know, check all those boxes and make it feel nimble.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Bronson there and how the new Heckler is intended to ride very much like the Bronson. And the Geo is pretty similar too. The rear end is a little bit longer, but on the other hand, we're seeing a lot of e-bikes that are coming out much slacker and much longer than their non-motorized counterparts. So was that a hard decision on your part to say, hey, we're going to use, you know, maybe slightly more traditional geometry for our e-bike than take it slacker and longer?
I don't think entirely. I mean, obviously it's a decision. There were a large group of people trying bikes, looking at these things. And we wanted to have that same feel, you know, and the bike's super stable. Kind of, there's some natural things that make it stable, the added weight and things like that. So, you know, increasing the reach a ton, didn't feel it was necessary, and wanted to remain playful. I think all of these different, you know, different geometries, different wheel sizes, like they all have like a place and like a lot of good things and, you know, and maybe negatives about it. But sticking with the goal of making it playful and you can hop on it and it feels like your normal bike.
Did you guys have 29ers and you were riding them back to back and then decided on this, the 27.5 inch wheel size?
We did ride both,
yeah,
quite a bit. And yeah, everybody felt that when we had a mule that was 27.5, we felt like this bike handles the way we want it to.
All right, let's talk suspension. It's lower link VPP. I imagine some things have changed. So
Yes.
is there less anti-squat? I would suspect that there's less anti-squat here.
Yeah, so the approach we took was you have added chain tension because the motor's driving it as well as you. So we didn't need as much anti-squat because it gets amplified by the motor. Yeah. Tough part was putting all the links in the shock where there's now a motor.
That's the thing. You have, not only do you have a shock down here, you also have this giant motor. You've got two links. Like, packaging had to be challenging down here.
I was allowed a ton of time to work on that and got a ton of help from other engineers here in how to like situate everything, how to fit the links over the motor. At the end of the day, also maintaining about the same seat post insertion on this bike as a Bronson. So yeah, you can see we moved the shock forward and in order to lower the tunnel. We did a lot of things.
Yeah. Does this frame share any components with the Bronson, like links or rear end or anything like that?
No, it doesn't share it. And the suspension was kind of started based on the Bronson, but the Bronson came out when we were working on this bike. And so we're like every bike that comes out, we're making improvements, and you know, we are looking for any negatives about these bikes. All of our bikes, and trying to make improvements. So this also benefited from development of other bikes that was going on at the time. It shares the same shock size from length and stroke and those things.
Different tune, I would imagine, too.
No, it's pretty similar.
The tune is about the same, yeah. It doesn't use a bearing eyelet on the base in order to tidy the tunnel as much as possible and get seat post insertion is what was driving that primarily.
Were you dead set on 150 because you wanted it to ride like the Bronson, or were you like, hey, it's got a motor, we might as well investigate more travel or maybe even less travel?
Yeah, we played with actually different strokes even in the mule. We weren't actually set necessarily on 150 when we were riding the mules. We had, you know, I came up with curves so we could use a different stroke at the time, and you know, we looked at those travels, but 150 seemed to be a nice spot.
So let's talk motor. Was it always going to be a Shimano step system, or did you guys investigate some other stuff, maybe even your own?
We looked across the board. We had competitive bikes. We, you know, obviously talked to a number of motor manufacturers. At the end of the day, the step system felt very seamless and gave it a ride characteristics much closer to a pedal bike as far as kind of the reward of what you put in. And then, you know, size constraints too. We looked at the full package and how we can do kinematics we looked at other motors and what the kinematics would need to be.
Yeah. It sounds like integration was a big focus as well too. Just having the bike look like a mountain bike and not having big screens and
oh, for sure.
Yeah, and things everywhere.
That's one thing that Shimano offers is their system as a whole. You know, they have a tidy display. We actually use the 7000 remote, so it's super small and simple, doesn't get in the way of dropper posts and all of your controls.
Okay. So with the integration, what kind of stuff did you guys do to make this thing look as sleek as it does?
You know, we looked at a lot of things. For instance, the carbon handlebar. It's a similar shape and geometry as we kind of know from the Santa Cruz carbon bars, but it has channels so that the switch wire actually runs through the bar and out near the stem clamp into the computer. So just to tidy that up versus, you know, rings around it or whatever provisions you want to use for
Big
it.
rat's nest of cables.
The whole package, though, that Shimano offers and warranty thing was a big concern too. You know, if something goes wrong, you can call Shimano, but we'll have the motors or any other of the spare parts also, because we have a big thing here called no miss rides, and we don't want, you know, people off their bikes for 2 to 4 weeks.
I really only have one more specific question for you guys. So Rob, 5 years from now, knowing what you know today, if you had to guess, what percentage of bikes in the Santa Cruz catalog are going to have a motor in them?
I think a safe answer might be 50%.
50%?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see pedal bikes going away. And I mean, we've grown year over year considerably in the last 4 years, a lot. And I think that's due to really good product, customer service, warranty, and this will be another bump for us for sure, because I think the platforms are really good. It's a lot of fun, and it's going to bring a lot of people that, like myself, that are getting up there in years and maybe couldn't get the fitness they used to have, but now they can go out and enjoy, you know, the ride. And you know, I know a bunch of my friends that, you know, lower back issues and whatnot, and they're back out on the bike, and that's what it's all about. So it's going to bring a lot of people that kind of maybe stepped away from biking for a while because of physical issues, and I think they'll be back on it and enjoying the ride again.
Okay. All right, Rob, Aaron, thanks for your time. If you guys want to know more about the new Heckler, you can check out the tech video where we go over the bike from front to back, and I think it's time for me to go ride this bike.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
See you guys later.